Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to be unraveling the thought and the concept of the anti-hero, and more or less that's you being your own worst enemy. How many of you, raise your hand if you can in a safe space, feel like sometimes you're sabotaging your own success? Like you're making things harder than they really need to be for yourself. Like really the only person who has it out for you is you, and your thoughts are like constantly screaming and yelling at you about how good something is, or if it's enough, or was this worth it, or am I going to be able to get what I want out of this, or is this even what I want out of this, or like you are your own worst enemy. Raise your hand if you feel like you at the end of the very day could be classified as your own worst enemy. And so I want to dive into this because there have been a couple of things that come up in the last few days, especially because I've been doing so much market research. And if you're interested, I'm just going to put this out there. I have been conducting some NLP sessions in exchange for market research. So if you're like, yeah, Fallon, I want to jump on board and schedule an NLP session with you so that you can start to get over some of those blocks and barriers that you have, I'm going to drop my Calendly link in the show notes. And by all means, you can just book into my calendar because it would be really helpful for me. And I know that some of these NLP strategies are also really helpful to have people start to take steps and make shifts in terms of like being able to subconsciously overcome some of those internal barriers that are going on in your mind. So, back to the point here though, what I'm noticing is that a lot of the time when I hop on these market research calls, I'm hopping on these calls because there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are having money issues and debt issues. And I have been there, and I could tell you myself, I have the whole story of money issues and debt issues that I learned how to overcome. And I learned strategies, budgeting, like to actually be on top of my numbers and to actually pay attention to what's going on in my bank account and to actually like give my credit card information and the time of day and like to actually pay attention to what's going on there, right? Like we could talk about those strategies all day, but what's going on in your financial world at the end of the day is just a symptom. And I know this to be true because when I'm doing these market research calls, people get on the call because they are like, yeah, I'm having a hard time with my money and I want to talk about how to make more money, or I want to talk about how to keep more of the money that I'm making. And ultimately, where the conversation typically ends up going is not about money. It's not. Money is not the actual problem. Understanding money is not the actual problem. What's actually going on is something much deeper than that. And I like to think of it almost like this whole sinus infection thing that I had going on for a little while there. I kept getting sinus infection after sinus infection after sinus infection. There was a point in time where I got sick every month of 2023. And instead of going to the root of the problem, I just kept getting antibiotics to fix what was currently going on. Very high level, very top level, right? And when we go into making an online business, we do the same exact thing. We're having all these money problems. So we sign up for these programs because we think that signing up for Betty's next business experience, whatever program, it doesn't really matter. I'm making something up, obviously. But we think that by signing up for so-and-so's biggest business experience, that it's going to solve the problems that we're going to have with our money because it's going to help us make more money. And then all of our problems with the money are going to go away. And that's just not how it happens. It's not how it works. We could talk about managing money. That's great too. There is a lot to talk about for managing money. But at the end of the day, making the money isn't the issue and managing the money isn't the issue. What the issue is an internal representation that we have of ourselves. And we could go to all the money coaches, we could go to all the business coaches in the world. None of the business coaches, none of the money coaches are going to be able to actually get you where you need to go if they don't have the proper training in how to help you with your internal representations so that you can get over some of these obstacles within yourself and you can overcome those barriers so that you can get to the results that you're actually looking for yourself. And it's really important that we talk about those strategies. We talk about those methods. We implement those strategies and methods, right? Like earlier today, I went through actually one of these strategies myself where I was talking about a purchasing decision that I had recently made and what triggered me to purchase that particular item. And, we went through the chain. It's like a series of events. And I ultimately found out what my most empowering purchase strategy is and what my most disempowering purchasing strategy is. And if I didn't take the time to actually look at how I go through a purchasing decision and recognize that it's actually when I talk with myself that I'm making the most empowered decision, I would probably fall to the next step in my purchasing strategy, which is buying on feeling. And buying on feeling does serve a purpose at certain points in time. For example, the purchasing decision that I was actually uncovering was when I was hungry for lunch out in Irvine, California, and I went to a local CVS because I was coming back. I needed to pick up my prescription from the urgent care anyway, and I was hungry. I had no food, so I wanted to pick up some kind of snacks and some kind of food so that I had something to sustain me for the rest of the day. And so I bought based on that feeling of hunger. However, there's other purchasing decisions that I've made where I didn't get to that last step of feeling something. There's other purchasing decisions that I've made that I stopped just before, after I've had a conversation with myself and I rationalize and justify, yes, this is the right decision, move forward. Instead of allowing myself to get to that next level of feeling again, like feeling like I don't have it or feeling like I need it or feeling like I'm going to miss out on something. And that strategy is really helpful for me because now I'm consciously aware of what goes on when I go to purchase something. And the next time that I go to make a purchasing decision, I could say to myself, okay, this is the series of events that happens. If I stop here, I know that it's okay for me to purchase. If I go any further, probably not a good purchase, right? So that's a really good strategy to start to understand. And when you start to understand that, especially around something like buying decisions, then it helps you to manage your money better, in all honesty. And it also helps you understand why, like what drives you to buy. So it's, to me, paramount to consider these types of inner behavioral and cognitive motivational. It's NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and it's just understanding yourself and your behavior and how you are programmed, like how you work, how you tick, what makes you function. And to me, that is invaluable because especially with something like money, it really goes to show you that your money is a tool and you are ultimately the driver at the end of the day. And if this is where you are internally, yeah, of course your money is going to reflect that externally. Of course. If you're making an empowered decision to buy, then more money is going to come in. And if you're making a disempowered decision to buy, guess what? That's toxic money. And you learned a lesson, an invaluable lesson at that. But still, you're finding yourself in a very disempowered state versus purchasing from an empowered state. And that has everything to do with money. Really speaking to the whole point that I made earlier in this episode, that money is a symptom. Whatever is going on with your money is a symptom. And going back to that story of the sinus infections, because I did get carried away, I got sick every month for a year in 2023. And this year in 2024, I decided, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to go to an ear, nose, and throat specialist. I had gone to an ear, nose, and throat specialist in 2021, but I couldn't move forward with the diagnosis because I found out that I was pregnant and there was no way that you could get surgery when you're pregnant. So I wound up getting a second opinion this year in 2024 from a different doctor. And the ENT actually referred me to an immunologist, an allergist. And it turns out that the antibodies in my blood for some pneumococcal viruses was at 13% instead of the average of 70%. All I needed to do was get a booster. That's it. Of a shot that I got when I was a kid. It's just a booster shot to give me more antibodies. That was it. That was literally it. There was no other issues. There were no other extreme problems. I hopped on the doomsday train. Don't get me wrong. I did. But it was an easy, quick, this is actually the root of your problems. You don't have enough antibodies in your blood. So every time these bacteria come into your body, you're not fighting them. And that's why you keep getting sick. That makes complete sense. Absolutely give me the shot, please. Boom. Guess what? Even though I'm sneezing because of the cat, that's because I actually have an allergy to the cats. I haven't gotten sick in 6 weeks. Knock it on wood just so that I can keep that up. That's incredible for me. That is such a long time. That's amazing. And it's because I solved the root of the problem. Same thing goes with money. Same thing goes with business. Same thing goes for yourself. If money and business are struggling for you, it's because they're symptoms to a bigger problem. You need to get to the root. What is going on within you? What is happening in that beautiful brain of yours? Because that's ultimately what is driving the bus. And if you want it to go to the place that you see the destination in your head at the end of the day, you got to hop in the steering wheel. And you got to get that. Whoever's in the steering wheel right now, you need to ask them to move over, sit in the passenger seat. You have your license. You're certified to drive. It's my turn. So I want to thank you for tuning into this episode. Like I had said I want to say the first couple minutes, if you're like, yeah, I want to get to the root, I'm ready to start looking at what's going on in there because these symptoms are so obnoxious. Definitely hop down into the show notes, book a call in my Calendly link. I'm going to be doing market research for probably quite a while. So this, again, I will do an NLP session with you to help you have that breakthrough in exchange for just, I think it's 10 questions of market research. It's really not a whole lot. So very, very thankful for you listening in, and I will talk to you very soon.